Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chris Information Podcast. I am your host, Chris Cella, former Congressional Press Assistant, social media coordinator for a national news outlet, and entertainment freelance news writer for MovieWeb and Wealth of Geeks. Now, we are going to be taking a look at an article I wrote back in June, which predicted what could come in Season 2 of House of the Dragon. Now that House of the Dragon's second season has ended, we are going to take a look back at my predictions, see what I got right, see what I got wrong, and what may be to come in seasons 3 and 4 of this show. So I hope you guys will stay with me, and don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all those things, because if for nothing else, you get a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. So do it for the money, if for no other reason. All right, now let's dive into House of the Dragon Season 2. The title of my article was Major Events from the book that could take place in House of the Dragon Season 2, dated June 14th, 2024. House of the Dragon Season 2 ranks as one of 2024's most anticipated series, based on George R. R. Martin's book. House of the Dragon plunges viewers into a world brimming with blood, betrayals, and twisted expectations. This season promises intense battles, epic dragon-on-dragon clashes, and a gripping story that keeps fans on the edge of their seats. Expect major character development from familiar faces and intriguing new additions from the saga of Westeros' most powerful family, torn apart by civil war. House Stark would join the Blacks, and of course, that is literally the first scene of the second season. We see Jace North all the way at the wall with Criston Stark, the current leader of House Stark and Warden of the North, telling Jace that yes, they bent the knee and support Rhaenyra's cause, and there has never been a Stark that has broken an oath, so that they will absolutely send 2,000 Greybeards to help in the fight against the Greens. Now, spoiler alert, these Greybeards, they must walk at a very slow pace because it took them 8 episodes to get to the twins. And they made it past the twins without being slaughtered, so good for the Starks, but not so good for us, as we have to wait another, 700 days before we actually see the Starks facing off against the Lannisters, and so on and so forth.
You got me shitting me!
Daemon seizes Harrenhal very early on in the war. In the books, the timeline is switched up to where when Lucerys dies, Daemon is actually already at Harrenhal. And he sends a message by Raven, an eye for an eye, a son for a son, Lucerys shall be avenged. They decide to go in a little bit of a different direction with Daemon's character and his whole arc in this season, which was rather annoying in my opinion, but that's what they chose to do with his whole vision quest that led him to the Conqueror's Dream, and his understanding that he is not the main character in this story. He is just one small part of this larger song of Ice and Fire.
It's all a story, and you're but one part in it. You know your part.
Now, my biggest problem with these visions is the way that they are paced. Daemon goes through 5 episodes of tripping balls on this werewood tree, seeing Paddy Constantine, seeing a young Rhaenyra, and then finally seeing Rhaenyra sitting on the Iron Throne. I think this could have been condensed into 1, maybe 2 episodes, but they chose to drag it out over the pretty much second half of the entire season, which I think caused a lot of people be very frustrated. I was one of those people. What are these dream sequences leading to? And of course, we got the answer. It's the thread that binds this show to Game of Thrones and the entire Conqueror's dream. That was never present in the books. The idea that Rhaenyra or that Viserys passed this secret on to Rhaenyra, who then passed it on to her son. None of that was present in the books, so Daemon obviously didn't go through this vision quest at Harrenhal in the books. In fact, it says that Daemon in the books was immune to Harrenhal's spooky nature, and that's pretty much all it says. Daemon resides at Harrenhal for a very large portion of the war, up until they do a bait and switch and empty Harrenhal to go to King's Landing when Aemond and the Greens are descending upon Harrenhal. So my biggest problem with Daemon's dream, not so much the content itself, but the way they did it. I think they could have done a much better job. Daemon Targaryen could have come to this realization without having this tie-in to the White Walkers and all this stuff. But he's there. We fight for our queen, and here we are. Daemon is ready to go to war, now fully behind Rhaenyra as the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, the person that is needed to unite the realm against the coming darkness.
The realm's only hope is a leader who can unite it, and my brother chose you. You are the true queen, Rhaenyra. First of her name, protector of the realm. I am meant to serve you, and all of these with me, until death, or the end of our story.
For every one of us who falls, 100 of them, there will be no mercy. We fight for our queen.
For once in his life, he puts his own ambition aside and decides to do what is best for the realm. And that means having Rhaenyra as queen to fight the coming darkness. The scene where Daemon calls the Rivermen to war, saying we fight for our queen, gave me goosebumps. Daemon Targaryen, Matt Smith, such a terrific actor, such a terrific character, and he will go out like a boss, and that has been heavily foreshadowed. The big showdown between him and I think you can guess who else that we're going to talk about later down this list. Let's continue.
Blood and cheese. So, of course, a son for a son, one of the most horrific moments in all of George R. R. Martin's texts. We were wondering how this was going to play out on screen, and while it was not quite as bad as it was in the books, it was still pretty horrifying just to hear the awful, disgusting sounds of an infant being beheaded. Again, this plays out much differently than it did in the books. In the books, Daemon uses Missaria, who's still in King's Landing, as an emissary for Blood and Cheese. Whereas in the show, Daemon goes directly to King's Landing and speaks with Blood and Cheese himself. Now, he tells them his target is Aemond One Eye. He tells them, he lives in the royal chambers, he's got one eye, silver hair, pretty easy to find.
This is my friend. Tonight he's going to be your friend. You're to find and slay the Prince Aemond Targaryen. He has silver hair and one eye. Should be easy enough to find.
What if we can't find him?
The show cuts away. So we don't know what Daemon said to those men. It's lost to history. But they carry out the deed nonetheless, killing the son of Queen Helena and King Aegon, the heir to the Iron Throne, Prince Jaehaerys. And Blood is caught trying to flee the city with the prince's head in a sack, and he is captured at the city gates, Cheese in the book escapes, but he's not that fortunate in the show. King Aegon decides to hang every single rat catcher in King's Landing, which results in Cheese hanging from the rafters.
What'd I do?
And his poor little dog, really, really heartbreaking. Moving on. So, Criston Cole becomes Hand of the King. This happens in the second or third episode of the season. Aegon, similar. It plays out in a similar way to how it plays out in the books, where Aegon is tired of his grandfather's, of what he sees as his grandfather's lack of or inaction, his inability or unwillingness to do the hard things, to do the savagery that needs to be done in order to put an end to Queen Rhaenyra and her claim. So the scene between Otto and Aegon is it's awesome. It's incredible. And Aegon basically, or Otto just spits a thesaurus at Aegon and tells him, "You think your father actually wanted you to be king? You really believe that?"
They are fathers and brothers and sons, and their wives and children gather now at our gates to weep and curse your name. Instead of judgment, you display impetuousness and diminish us in the eyes of our enemy, ill-considered, trifling. You never think of your father, his forbearance, his judiciousness, his dignity. He was right about you.
He made me king.
Is that what you think?
You're dumber than I thought you were. And then he leaves and somehow is in jail at the end of the second season. I don't know how that happened. If someone could explain that to me in the comments, that would be wonderful. Because I don't remember him being locked up. I don't think Aemond locked him, or I don't think Aegon locked him up. I think he just relieved him of his duty. Anyways, and Criston Cole, and when Criston Cole takes the badge, he clearly, in the show, he's like, oh my god. He clearly is in way over his head, but accepts the nomination.
In over their head, but they accept the nomination anyway. Who does that sound like?
In present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy, because it comes in the morning.
And attempts to guide the young king while working alongside Prince Aemond in terms of battle strategy and whatnot. And he proves to be a very sound military strategist, and his plans, for the most part, at least in season 2, work out. But Criston Cole is one of the biggest scumbags on this show. He goes from being Rhaenyra's love interest, being spurned by Rhaenyra because she won't run away with him to Pentos when she's the heir to the Iron Throne. She basically tells him he's an idiot and he's crazy. So, the spurned lover then beats a guy to death at a wedding, gets away with it. Alicent comes and says, "Hey, become my sworn protector." And he says, "Oh, thank you so much. You're the beacon that guides me." Yeah. Where is that beacon exactly? Is it in between her legs? He's starting to understand the absolute, mutually assured destruction of dragons fighting dragons. He has a line, I think, in the season finale, "When dragons dance, men are like dust beneath their feet." And he saw Rook's Rest, he saw all the carnage, and that really shook him to his core. And I think he now realizes that this is not a war that will be won by men and swords, but rather by fire and blood. Alright, moving on. The Riverlands divided, the Brackens and the Blackwoods. Now, this was a major point of contention in Season 2 as Daemon had to deal with the Brackens who refused to bend the knee, and the Blackwoods who he told to commit. He didn't tell them outright, but said there are certain things that the crown can't be seen doing. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Capture their kids, their wives, commit horrible atrocities in the crown's name. But the idiot did it. The idiot carried these atrocities out, waving the black and red Targaryen banner that you see behind me. Obviously, the the banner of Queen Rhaenyra. So, again, the River Lords basically tell Daemon, we don't care about oaths. We will not bend the knee to a tyrant.
I see no reason to cast aside loyalty, no matter how loathsome I may find her representative, the prince.
To get the Tullys and all their bannermen to support Queen Rhaenyra, Daemon must, of course, execute the head of House Blackwood, which he had no problem doing. I mean, it's Daemon we're talking about. But the dispute between the Brackens and the Blackwoods goes back beyond living memory, according to both the show and the books. They have hated each other since the dawn of time. It's like the Red Sox and the Yankees. It's always been. Brother versus brother, the Cargyll twins tragedy. So as you know, in episode 2, the psychotic Hand of the King, or no, he's not Hand of the King yet, but in his haste to attempt to get back at Rhaenyra for striking at Jaehaerys, and his guilt for being up Alicent's skirt when he should have been protecting the royal family, Criston Cole forces Sir Auric, twin of Sir Eric, who is the Queensguard to Rhaenyra, to basically go on a suicide mission to Dragonstone, disguised as his twin brother.
You will go to Dragonstone and strike down Rhaenyra in her own halls, the way she sought to do with Aemond. We will pay the princess back in her own bloody coin.
It's all thanks to Mysaria. Mysaria recognizes the Cargyll twin walking up on the beach as she saw the other Cargyll twin in the castle. She knows that they're twins from season 1, so she puts it together very quickly and is able to warn the Kingsguard in time, or the Queensguard in time, for Eric to bust into the room right as Auric is about to slay Rhaenyra. They have a quick battle. They both profess their love for one another, and then Eric kills Auric, and then Eric falls on his own sword, overcome with grief, distraught that he chose duty and honor over family.
Your Grace.
Eric.
Forgive me.
No! No!
When civil war breaks out. Brothers fight brothers, family fights family. On to the sack of Duskendale and the battle at Rook's Rest. By far and away, miles and miles away, the best episode of this season and of the series is the Red Dragon and the Gold, episode 4, which entails the battle at Rook's Rest. So, you guys know what happened. You saw the episode. This episode was the special effects, character storylines, and the massive change up from the book. So, if you were watching this as a book reader, and you see what happens, you see Aemond intentionally burn Aegon. You see Aemond then, as Aegon is laying there, a pile of broken bones and burnt flesh. You see Aemond walking over there and attempting to finish the job.
Aemond!
And yet I still saw some people online claiming, I don't know if Aemond was actually going to kill Aegon. Or what was he going to do? And if Criston Cole hadn't steadied his hand, Aegon would be gone.
You suck.
That was my attempt at a joke. Let's move on to the... Okay, so the result of that battle is pretty much the same. So at the Battle of Rook's Rest, let's not forget, Aemond, in the book, Aemond and Aegon team up on Meleys. You know, this was a team effort by Aemond and Aegon to fight Meleys, to trap her and at Rook's Rest and to fight her together. But Criston Cole, in the show, Criston Cole and Aemond have a very different strategy. Aegon, stay in King's Landing where you are most needed, where you're not. You're useless and everyone knows it. And Alicent reminds him of that, which is what drives Aegon to drunkenly get on his dragon and then fly to Rook's Rest. And so when Aegon arrives at Rook's Rest, it's to the shock of everyone, including the Greens, especially Aemond and Vhagar. But instead, so Aemond tells Vhagar to stand down and waits for Aegon to drunkenly take on Meleys by himself. Obviously, we know how that turned out for him. But removed from the equation in this, the consequences are the same, but the way it plays out is so different, drastically different. This civil war within a civil war that exists between the Greens, and you kind of see it with the Blacks as well, with Daemon and Rhaenyra facing having some strife, and Daemon believing that he should be king, etc., etc. Same thing with the two brothers here, except Aemon really hates his brother. He hates his brother. He resents him for bullying him as a child, for teaming up with the with Rhaenyra's sons to bully him and make him feel inadequate. And then, of course, when Aegon stumbles in drunk to the brothel where Aemond is, and kind of pokes fun at Aemond for sleeping with the same woman who took his virginity. Sorry, I gotta put on my glasses for a second. Okay, so yeah, so resulting in Aemond becoming Protector of the Realm and Prince Regent, while he doesn't actually take on the moniker of King, he does serve as Protector of the Realm in Aegon's stead. Alright, let's move on. So far I've gotten everything right. I mean, but this was obvious stuff. I mean, these are key events from the book. I mean, I'm not a genius here. This isn't rocket science guessing what would play out in Season 2, especially since I had trailer footage to go by. So, Aemond becomes Prince Regent, immediately start dishing out orders, and oh yeah, big shocker here. So, when they're deciding who should take Aegon's place as the Protector of the Realm, whatever, in his stead, Alicent is absolutely shocked that none of the men at the table, the men who helped usurp the throne from a woman simply because she was a woman, were not really going to take Alicent as the Protector of the Realm, as a, entertain that with any seriousness. It's like, oh really, is that shocking to you, Alicent? That the Council of Men who worked to usurp a woman only because she was a woman don't want you as the Protector of the Realm. Instead, they choose the dragon-riding badass Aemond Targaryen. Big shocker. Apparently, everybody but Alicent understood the sexist kind of undertones that the Green Council has had ever since Episode 9 of Season 1. Well, and before that. They were plotting and scheming long before that. Otto Hightower, as cunning a statesman as there ever was, is also, just like most statesmen, scumbag. And why was he in jail? I still haven't gotten a clear answer to that question. If you know why, please leave that in the comments. I would really appreciate an answer. Alright, so moving on. So after losing Meleys and Rhaenys, losing one of their fiercest dragons, Rhaenyra and Jace realize they need dragon riders. So it is Jace's idea to offer knighthood and glory to anyone capable of taming a dragon. Now, Jace wants it to be highborns, people of noble birth, whereas Rhaenyra is like anybody who has even a drop of Targaryen blood in them, send them to the dragon pit. Send out the flyers. Anybody is welcome. This is a non-exclusive club. We are anybody who wants to try to tame a dragon can tame a dragon. You don't have to show proof of Targaryen citizenship. You can try, but at your own peril, because you might be burned into a literal husk of dust. So, out of the scores who attempt this perilous mission, this is from my article, only a handful succeed. Adam of Hull, a legitimized Velaryon, illegitimate, now known as Adam Velaryon. Adam of Hull becomes Adam Velaryon after he is legitimized by Sir Corlys Velaryon, who is his bastard father. Now, the difference between Adam and the rest of the dragon seeds is that Adam did not seek his dragon out. Sea Smoke sought him out. In fact, it was a very predatory taming or bonding on Sea Smoke's part. Adam of Hull, or Adam Velaryon, Hugh Hammer tamed Vermithor. Ulf the White, God, what a moron he is, tames Silverwing. And then the final dragon seed is actually... So they have taken a character, Nettles, one of the only person of color in George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood, removed her from the show entirely. They're not casting a Nettles, and instead they are taking Rhaena's character and basically kind of molding all of Nettles, the things Nettles did into, at least I hope not all of the things Nettles did, but a lot of Nettles' characteristics and what she did in the story, they're adapting that for Rhaena's character. Which, okay, I don't understand, in a show that talked about how they made the Velaryons black because they wanted more diversity, they choose to omit the one actual person of color that George R. R. Martin wrote into his texts. That's baffling, but whatever. Anyways, so Rhaena, after several episodes of her, finding burnt pieces of grass and the bones of dead sheep, she stumbles across Sheep Stealer. And while we don't actually see it in the finale, we see her walking up to Sheep Stealer kind of roaring and then kind of bowing his nose, I don't know, gender-neutral dragons, I guess. How do you know what race or what gender a dragon is? I don't know. So yeah, Nettles is not going to be in the show. A big change up from another change up from the books is that the dragon seeds. Jace was really on board with this, but when he found out that they were going to use bastards, just basically any common peasant who might have Targaryen blood in their veins, he was very upset because he felt like that was him being able to claim a dragon was the one layer of nobility masking his true lineage, which of course he is a bastard, a very strong bastard. Haha.
You suck! You suck!
Haha. But a bastard nonetheless, and therefore, if Ulf the White, some buffoonish goon, is going to be able to claim a dragon, and he tells Jace we're cut from the same cloth, and that really rubs Jace the wrong way. For good reason. So the dragon seeds have a crucial role to play out through most of the war, and they majorly turn the tide in favor of the blacks, Team Black. You know what I mean. Stop. This decision will eventually have some consequences, as we will see as we go further down this list. Okay, so this is where I have to say that my predictions are... So I think I got... Let's see, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 9 out of, I think there's 14, so 9 out of 14 key events that would play out. The later ones I did not think were even remotely, I didn't think there was a chance, but I still wanted to put them on there just because. But I think that there is a very good chance that we could see a large portion of the rest of these events play out in Season 3 and definitely in Season 4. Show's going to have 4 seasons. Season 3 might have 8 episodes as well. That's been rumored. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but that's what the rumor is as of right now. So let the rest of the events and entries that I'm about to talk about have not taken place in the show. But they are major events from the book that have major lasting consequences and affect the course of the war. So if you don't want to know any spoilers about what's to come, just leave a like, subscribe, share this to as many people as you can across as many platforms as you can, because it sincerely helps grow the channel, and you get a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. Again, the more places you subscribe and the more videos you comment on, all that good stuff, the better your chances are to win. So even if you hated this video and were dying for it to end, at least, drop a like for that reason. Or a dislike. Either one. Alright, so moving forward, full spoilers ahead. The Battle of the Gullet / Rhaenyra Unhinged. Okay, so the Battle of the Gullet emerges as one of... What? Alright, I have to pause for a second while my co-host, a co-host who will frequently be joining the show. She won't be on every episode because she finds a lot of what I have to say annoying, and but she does like House of the Dragon. She does like a lot of the other content that I consume. So anything she has an opinion on, she's definitely going to weigh in on. My full House of the Dragon Season 2 review is going to include Danielle Luana. So you guys definitely don't want to miss that, because it's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to go back and forth and discuss what we liked about the season. I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything for anyone, because my biggest frustration was the fact that the season left off on the biggest cliffhanger. I mean, that's the kind of cliffhanger you make for the episode before the last, like for the penultimate episode. So everybody's suiting up for war, all the the High Towers marching with Darren finally taking flight on Tessarion, the Lannisters and the Starks, the Sea Snake sailing directly into the jaws of the Triarchy. A lot of stuff that we know is teasing, but it's saying, hey, you only have to wait 700 and something days minimum to find out what happens next. What didn't happen in Season 2, what I hoped would happen, but there are several major events, and one of them is the Battle of the Gullet. They came out, basically HBO came out and said, we don't have them, or they didn't get the budget to do the Battle of the Gullet. Or the Fall of King's Landing. Now, in my opinion, the Fall of King's Landing, I get the Battle of the Gullet. It's a major naval and dragon battle, so you've got dragon fire, plus the ships, plus, so yeah, that's a huge set piece. That's going to cost a lot of money, and that's going to take a lot of time. But the Fall of King's Landing, you already have the set built for King's Landing. All you need is those to CGI some dragons circling King's Landing, because the Fall of King's Landing is not a battle. It simply happens because Aemond and Criston Cole march on Harrenhal, and Daemon, in a similar move to Robb Stark, in the Battle of Whispering Wood, goes where his enemy does not expect them to be.
By the time they knew what was happening, it had already happened.
And then takes advantage of them being caught by surprise. So that's exactly what happens. That's what Daemon takes Caraxes and the Rivermen and basically empties Harrenhal. And they all march towards King's Landing with Rhaenyra on Syrax and with the dragonseeds. And King's Landing falls relatively easily. But the Battle of the Gullet results in the death of Rhaenyra's heir, Jace, results in the death of two of her sons. I believe one of her sons escapes on his dragon and makes it back to Dragonstone, but then his dragon dies. So it is a major loss for the Blacks. Driftmark is sacked, cities put to the torch. It's a very, very costly battle on both sides. And I can't wait to see it in Season 3. It'll likely be in the first or second episode of Season 3, the Battle of the Gullet, which will lead to the fall of King's Landing as Rhaenyra takes King's Landing. So after losing 3 of her sons, Rhaenyra unleashes her fury. Daemon rides Caraxes while Lord Corlys's fleet sails into Blackwater Bay. Rhaenyra mounts Syrax and they storm toward King's Landing. With Criston Cole, Aemond, and Vhagar absent, the Black seize the city in a day. Rhaenyra ascends the Iron Throne, but any hopes for lasting peace under her benevolent rule are dashed. The reality is harsh. Rhaenyra's reign, like many during times of war, proves fleeting. Upon first sitting on the throne, Rhaenyra sustains a cut, perhaps symbolizing the throne rejecting her authority. The Iron Throne embodies the wrath Rhaenyra yearns for but never truly attains. The war has claimed most of her family, embittering her soul. Driven by vengeance rather than the good of the realm, Rhaenyra's descent into darkness becomes more and more evident. And that is what this show needs to do. And if they don't capitalize on making Rhaenyra develop into what she became in the books, and I mean they've been pretty restrained about making Rhaenyra, kind of dip into psychosis. Now, you could say the dragonseeds, that was one incidence where she, watched, hundreds of people being burned alive, but did not want to move her eyes away from it for a second because she knew she needed to get this goal accomplished. Larys smuggles Aegon out of King's Landing ironically to Dragonstone. I guess of all places, that's the last place they would look for him. They throw the Dowager Queen Alicent into a dungeon, and she later dies due to fever. That's pretty much the end of Alicent's story. Now, we saw Alicent basically come to Rhaenyra and tell her that Helena would open the city gates and surrender to Rhaenyra, but Rhaenyra basically tells Alicent it's too late for that. So, yeah, the next, first Tumbleton and the 2 betrayers. So there are 2 dragonseeds who will betray Rhaenyra. At least they do in the books, and I can definitely see why one of them would. Ulf the White, just because he's going to, I think, flip to whichever side he feels is the winning side. Whereas Hugh Hammer, he's riding Vermithor, the 2nd largest dragon in the world. So will Hugh Hammer, will he choose to go and, betray Rhaenyra, or will he be one of the loyal dragonseeds? And the betrayal by these 2 dragonseeds, Hugh Hammer and Ulf White, leads Rhaenyra to think that all bastards, it's funny because her son's a bastard, but her son's dead now, at least at this point. All bastards are traitors, and so she attempts to imprison Adam, and it's only due to Lord Corlys's intervention that Adam is able to escape on sea smoke, and Rhaenyra imprisons Lord Corlys for doing this, and then she orders Daemon to bring her Nettle's head. So she may assume, so this could, again, Rhaena having taken the place of Nettles, she could order Daemon to send her the head of his daughter. Because remember, Rhaena is Daemon's daughter. So will she ask Daemon to bring her the head of his own daughter? I guess we'll see. And again, her descent into madness, I think 2 seasons, we have to start seeing it. We have to start seeing the seeds being put into place now. And I think it can play out well, but it needs to start at the very beginning of season 3. She needs to start making harsh actions, harsh decisions, instead of kind of pussyfooting around war, which is what all of season 2 was, and I can see why a lot of people had a problem with that. So Tumbleton leads Rhaenyra to believe that everyone is going to stab her in the back, which leads to the fall of Dragonstone, the death of Lady Baela. Aegon reunites with his golden dragon Sunfire, and they engage in a fierce battle with Baela on Moondancer. And it is there's a clash between 2 dragons on Dragonstone, and it's pretty epic. Likely to happen in season 3, if not towards the end of season 3, if not season 4. And then lastly, the battle above the God's Eye, Daemon versus Aemond. This is the showdown that everyone who has read the books is waiting for, because we don't need anything. Literally, you could take that scene exactly as it's written in the books, with the exact dialogue spoken between the two. So what happens is, after Daemon gets word that Rhaenyra wants him to send her Nettles' head, because she believes that 1, Nettles is sleeping with Daemon, and 2, that Nettles is a traitor because she's a dragonseed bastard. So Daemon, realizing now that Rhaenyra has gone over the deep end and is too far gone, decides to go to Harrenhal. He sends a raven to Aemond, challenging him. And he waits 13 days, and then Aemond shows up on Vhagar. The 2 riders, he dismounts Vhagar and kisses his beloved Alice Rivers. Aemond and Alice Rivers are in a relationship in the books, because when he flies to Harrenhal after it's abandoned, he's pretty pissed off, but Alice Rivers manages to find a way to calm him down. Anyways, Aemond says to Daemon, "You have lived too long, uncle." And Daemon says, "On that much we can agree." And then the 2 get on their dragons. Daemon does not strap himself into his saddle. Aemond, of course, does. And as the 2 dragons wrap around each other high above the God's Eye, you see Daemon leap from Caraxes onto Vhagar and take his sword, Dark Sister, and plunging it through Aemon's missing eye all the way to the point where it came out the back of his neck. And I mean, and then the 2 men and the 2 dragons fall into the water, casting a splash that literally seemed to touch the moon. And that is what takes place during the battle above the God's Eye. That is probably the most anticipated event, battle, whatever you want to call it, of this series. More likely to be in season 4, but who knows? Who knows with the way they have changed the timeline? Really, any of these events could take place in a different sequence, and so you never know. So we could get the battle above the God's Eye much sooner than we thought, but remember, Helena told Aemond, she said, "Aegon will be king again, and you will be dead, swallowed up by the God's Eye." So Helena knows their fate. Daemon realizes that he's fighting for something greater than himself and the Rivermen and all that stuff. And I'm going to do an analysis, a review of this season, what I loved, what I didn't like, and Danielle's going to be joining me for that as well. That's going to be coming later tonight, if not tomorrow. But I hope you guys... Oh, and last one. What about Daemon? Daemon Targaryen finally made his appearance in the last episode of Season 2. We saw him taking flight on Tessarion, flying with the Hightower army, and now the Greens can add one more dragon. So they've got Vhagar, they've got Dreamfire, which Helena refuses to fly, Sunfire badly injured, and then Daeron on Tessarion. And I'm very, very excited to see what they do with Daeron's character, because Daemon the Daring is, in the books, he is the much, much more likable, kind-hearted of the three sons of Viserys and Alicent. So I'm very interested to see how they take that character and which direction they go. But again, thank you guys for watching this. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a like on YouTube at CristonInformation_podcast, or if you just type in Criston Information Podcast, you'll probably find it.
And all right, guys, we are going to end that right here. Don't forget to tune in to my House of the Dragon Season 2 review, full, unfiltered thoughts on what I thought about House of the Dragon Season 2. You're going to get everything from my thoughts on pacing, to my thoughts on character development, to my thoughts on characters being switched out, etc., 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 plus a Kamala Harris supercut. So a supercut of all the wisdom and sagacious knowledge that Kamala Harris has, deserves a montage, and we are going to give it to you. Kamala Harris is, of course, the Democratic nominee for President of the United States of America. So she deserves a supercut, and we're going to give her one. Stay tuned for all of that and more on the channel.
Again, guys, we are at 800 and something subscribers. Just a little over a week ago, I was at less than 100 subscribers. So I thank you so much for the growing support, and I hope that you guys will continue to follow me on this journey. Criston Information is located at the intersection of politics and pop culture. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. Catch you in the next one.